Horror has always thrived on the edge of imagination, born from what we cannot see, what we cannot control, and what we cannot fully understand. In literature and film, horror relies on atmosphere, narrative tension, and sensory manipulation. But in video games, horror gains an additional and potent dimension, player agency. Unlike a film where the audience passively observes fear unfold, video games make the player responsible for surviving it. This interactivity fundamentally transforms how horror is experienced, intensifying dread and making every moment of vulnerability deeply personal. At its core, horror in games thrives because it taps into the player's sense of responsibility. When fear is interactive, it becomes existential. Players must act, hide, or flee. They can't simply look away. Every choice carries weight, and every mistake is owned. Horror games also engage the fight or flight response on a physical level. The combination of visual threat, sudden noise, and forced decision-making triggers genuine adrenaline surges. Yet within the safety of fiction, this fear becomes thrilling rather than traumatizing. It's a controlled confrontation with danger and exercise in mastery over terror. Moreover, horror games explore themes often neglected in mainstream entertainment: guilt, grief, loss, insanity, and mortality. Through interactivity, these themes become intimate. A player wandering through the psychological decay of Silent Hill 2 or the fragmented memories of Layers of Fear is not just witnessing someone's breakdown, they're participating in it. Horror in video games represents one of the most sophisticated and emotionally resonant forms of digital storytelling. It fuses narrative, sound, design, and psychology into a single, deeply personal experience. Horror has continually adapted to new technologies and cultural anxieties, proving itself not just a genre, but a reflection of the human condition. In a medium defined by interaction, horror stands apart as the genre that most powerfully tests what it means to play. It transformed the act of holding a controller into confrontation with fear itself, forcing players to find not only monsters, but their own reactions, limits, and vulnerabilities. The game opens in 1979, introducing Adam Stevenson, a cryptanalyst working for the CIA, and his wife Emma. The couple drives to an old family house in the quiet countryside of Boston, a place inherited from Adam's ancestor. They're seeking peace and privacy as Adam works on the top-secret Cold War code-breaking project. The opening moments are serene yet uneasy. The atmosphere is bright and rustic, but the silence carries tension. The camera lingers on creaking boards, overgrown grass, and distant crows. It's a perfect setup for dread to bloom beneath normality. You take control of Adam, exploring the exterior, unloading boxes, and helping Emma settle in. The player's immersion begins gently, moving furniture, inspecting items, and a deceptive calm before the storm. Adam locates a hidden mechanism in the attic, an old padlocked chest that once belonged to Nicholas Hyde. The attic is cloaked in dust and decay. Inside the chest, Adam finds a century-old diary belonging to Nicholas Hyde. The tone turns cold as Adam begins reading, and the screen transitions into a different time. As Adam reads the diary, the player is suddenly transported into Nicholas Hyde's world, effectively ending Chapter 1. The screen darkens and we move from the modern realism of the 1970s into a gothic nightmare of the 19th century, where Nicholas writes of ghost, betrayal, and an evil lurking beneath the house. The tone shift is immediate, light to darkness, sanity to fear. The transition sets the thematic spine of the game, the duality of human nature and the repetition of trauma. The setting is claustrophobic and cold. The faint hum of the wind and the creak of the wooden beams fill the silence. Nicholas narrates through his journal, lamenting his isolation and the strange noises that haunt the property since his father's death. This sequence immediately establishes the dual timeline gameplay. You're not just reading Nicholas's diary, you're living it. The boundaries between past and present blur. Nicholas senses something wrong below. He hears muffled sounds, dragging chains, and whispers coming from the cellar. As he descends, the game tone grows increasingly oppressive. The flickering lantern light creates long shadows, and every sound feels amplified. The player explores the dim basement, finding signs of someone living or trapped down there. Scratches on the walls, broken bottles, and an eerie stain suggest the house has hid something unspeakable. The cellar represents buried truth, both literally and psychologically. Nicholas discovers a solid metal door and a blood-stained floor, implying someone was imprisoned or tortured. Before he can investigate further, he needs a lockpick to find a way into the passage. The lantern flicks violently as the air grows dense. A supernatural presence makes itself known for the first time. When Nicholas turns back towards the stairs, the environment subtly changes. Furniture shifts, walls seem darker, the doors creak open on their own. The reality he thought he knew begins to dissolve. Nicholas encounters the first real glimpse of something ghostly, a shadowy silhouette darting past hallways and disappearing into the dark. It's not a direct threat yet, but instills dread through absence rather than presence. He calls out, half convinced it's a thief or a squatter, but as the door slams behind him and objects move on their own, he realizes something more sinister is at play. When heading upstairs to retrieve the lockpick from his luggage, a bedroom door opens. Even with the lantern, the room is in complete darkness, till a silhouette can be seen walking towards Nicholas. In panic or pure fear, Nicholas doesn't know how to react. He just continuously backs up until his banister breaks and sends him crashing to the floor. While laying there fading in and out of consciousness, he sees the figure calmly walking down the stairs, and the screen fades to black. The player arrives back as Adam, who seemingly wondered from where he first started reading the diary page. He hears Emma calling him and goes to meet her. When he finally finds her, she's pissed, saying we have disappeared for hours and that the powers went out. Adam goes to the basement to check out the fuse box and discovers it's missing a fuse. While looking outside in the shed for a replacement, Adam finds a tool from his work and wonders why Emma would put it there. While testing it out, he discovers someone's been around the house and decides to follow the trail. After following the trail, Adam finds blood puddles and that something heavy was dragged through the dirt. He comes across the barn with something hanging from the rafters in the distance. He goes through a side passage and discovers that it's a deer hung up, almost in a ritual-like state, with something glowing in its innards and flashing a bright red light. After cutting the deer down and digging through its intestines, Adam finds the fuse to his house and a military-grade equipment. Freaked out by it, Adam decides to head back to the house. After getting back to the house and replacing the fuse, we see the couple bonding and painting the house. We also figure out here that Emma is pregnant. A few days later, Adam gets awoken from a nap by the phone. He answers and finds out it's his boss worrying about him and wondering if he has made progress on his work. After setting up his decipher machine, Adam finds another journal piece from Nicholas's diary. He starts reading and the screen fades away. This chapter starts off with Nicholas waking up dazed and confused. He heads up the stairs towards the room that the figure came from, which turns out to be his father's room. While investigating the room, we find mementos, letters, and writings on the wall, with blood. Eventually, Nicholas finds a hole in the flooring and decides to crawl in. While crawling through and tripping balls a few times, the flooring collapses and he lands in his father's study. There he finds his lockpick and heads back to the basement. While in the basement, he sees a wounded man running from a man in the mask. They trade blows, then the wounded man runs off. Nicholas decides to follow. While running through the woods, Nicholas finds the wounded man who attacks him. He shoots him, but it only holds him off for a little bit. Nicholas has to make it through the fog-ridden dark forest up to an old inn for protection, battling the wounded man the entire way. When Nicholas finally makes it to the inn, it turns into a boss battle with the wounded man. When Nicholas thinks he got rid of him for good and heads inside the inn, the wounded man shows up again. This time he gets close enough to grab him. While Nicholas is getting choked out, the masked man shows up and destroys the wounded man, one slice at a time. Nicholas eventually blacks out from the terror of it all. Back in Adam's timeline, he is still in the office, even though a huge chunk of time went by. Somehow the keys from the diary solved some of the Soviets' hidden ciphers. Adam can't believe a 100-year-old diary could solve it all. He decides to find more journal pieces. While leaving, Emma stops Adam, telling him she's worried because she has been seeing someone outside the house. Adam freaks out on her for not telling him sooner. After the argument, he heads outside to see if he can find anyone hiding around the house. Eventually, Adam finds a trail left by someone. While exploring, he finds an abandoned building with a makeshift camp. He also finds a picture taken on the day they arrived. While breaking the equipment, Adam sees a man in a suit and takes off after him. He chases him through the forest and into a cave where the man in the suit almost takes him out. After finally finding his way out, Adam finds the inn that Nicholas was heading to 100 years ago. It's all burnt down and decrepit. Investigating the inn, we find a safe, and after figuring out the combination, Adam finds another of Nicholas's diary pages, and he then begins to read. This chapter begins with Nicholas waking up and seeing the inn is completely abandoned. Dark, dank, dusty, and downright creepy. Out of all the places in this game, the inn is my favorite. The atmosphere immediately shifts. The building looms like a corpse of its former self. Surrounded by fog and silence, the inn creaks with every step, dust-covered furniture hinting that it's been deserted for years. Yet the player senses something unseen, as though the walls remember what happened there. Nicholas begins exploring the first level of the inn. The player must search for clues about what happened here. The silence is thick, interrupted only by distant floorboard creaks, wind, and the faint flicker of light. He finds ledger books, broken bottles, and remnants of guests, belonging all seemingly frozen in time. Notes scattered about hint at illicit activities, smuggling, murders, and strange rituals that once took place. A bloody handprint on the wall suggests violence. The tension builds. Nicholas mutters about feeling watched, and the player hears faint whispers. The inn starts to feel alive, feeding off his fear. Eventually, Nicholas finds a locked door that won't budge. Searching nearby, he uncovers a hidden mechanism, a secret passage concealed behind a cabinet. This is the turning point. The inn transitions from eerie realism to overt horror. The passage is narrow, claustrophobic, lit only by Nicholas's lantern. The walls seem to breathe, and strange noises echo ahead. As he crawls through, he begins hearing voices, perhaps from the past, perhaps hallucinations, whispering his name. The player feels Nicholas's mental state slipping further as he mutters to himself, questioning what's real. The passage leads Nicholas into a hidden basement chamber beneath the inn. The discovery is gruesome. Chains, bones, and ritual symbols cover the floor and walls. A foul smell of decay fills the air. Documents reveal that cult-like activities were conducted here. Torture, sacrifices, and experiments supposedly to appease or contain something monstrous. Without warning, the game shifts into a chase sequence, one of the most memorable in Nicholas's timeline. A demonic entity, perhaps a remnant of the ritual, emerges from the shadows. The creature's distorted body and guttural breathing echo through the corridors. Nicholas runs, breathing heavily, his heartbeat syncing with the music. The player must navigate through tight hallways, slamming doors behind them, and crawl through the gaps as the monster crashes through obstacles. Nicholas finally bursts into the upper level of the inn, barricading the door behind him. He catches his breath as the entity pounds from the other side. This sequence slows down again. Dread replaces adrenaline. As Nicholas explores further, the player finds old letters from the innkeeper, revealing that guests vanished mysteriously and that the inn was cursed after an unspeakable act. Nicholas begins piecing together that his family past might be connected to these atrocities. The line between guilt and inheritance blurs. The beast may not just be a ghostly presence, but something within his bloodline. After getting chased all through the inn, Nicholas finally makes it out. Still being chased, he jumps on an old mining cart track, and it collapses, making Nicholas fade into darkness. After that, Adam wakes up in the middle of the woods, just outside the mine, with bruised hands, not knowing what happened and how he ended up there, after just being at the inn. He gets in a panic worrying about how much time has passed, and Emma being alone at the house. After making his way through the collapsed mines and seeing some disturbing things that I can't show, he eventually makes it back to his house. While back at the house, he sees a sheriff's vehicle in the driveway. He rushes in, where Emma told him he was gone for 6 hours and seen that person again, so she called the law. She also says when the police officer arrived, someone was in their house and stole Adam's work. The police officer left to follow the unknown thief. Adam chases after the sheriff and the thief, not trusting either, thinking it's all the Soviets trying to get him. In the woods, he comes across a watchtower with a pretty decent view. Eventually, he finds a cabin with a bunch of equipment used for surveillance. It makes Adam convinced now more than ever that they are out to get him. After unlocking the basement door, he heads down only to find the sheriff tied up and dispatched. He finds another Nicholas Diaries note right beside him. After reading it, the roles swap. With Nicholas emerging from the forest after fleeing the inn, exhausted, shaken, and haunted by the visions he experienced, he spots the old Blackstone Mine, a place long abandoned after a catastrophic collapse decades ago. He mutters that clues about his father and the strange events must lie below. His voice is determined but unstable. Paranoia has started to consume him. The howling wind and rusted metal groans create an impressive soundscape as he lights his lantern and enters. Inside, Nicholas finds the remnants of collapsed industry, shattered carts, broken rails, and old mining tools scattered among heaps of rubble. The lantern's glow barely pierces the darkness. The air feels thick and suffocating. Notes in old diaries reveal that miners spoke of voices in the dark and of a strange light seen before the cave-in. The foreman's log mentions men disappearing and tunnels being sealed for safety reasons. Nicholas stumbles across a decent-sized room with a man frozen into the wall. With a visible beating heart, he yeets Nicholas across the room. After making his way back, Nicholas stabs his heart with a pickaxe, only to get smacked down again. And when all hope seems lost, the masked top-hat man shows up again and saves his life. Nicholas runs, trying to escape the collapsing tunnels. Adam wakes up in the bottom of the well. It's dark, and it's untelling how long he has been there. Right beside the sheriff's body, both are handcuffed together. After giving him a hand, or rather taking it, Adam manages to climb out and starts to head back to Emma. When he finally makes it back and talks with her while looking like a mess and lying about finding the sheriff, a small argument happens. After that, Adam checks the sheriff's card to find a report claiming that Nicholas's family changed their last name after all the stuff in the past happened. Adam makes the connection that he is a descendant of Nicholas. While searching the house, Adam finds a hidden room where Nicholas was held by his abusive father when he was a child. After reading notes and examining the entire room, Adam hears a knock on the door and goes to check it out, only to instantly get a bag thrown on his head from the man in the suit. The final chapter opens in chaos and psychological turmoil. Adam, whose mind has been fracturing throughout the game, finds himself on the brink of collapse. The lines between past and present, reality and delusion, are completely blurred. The mansion that once symbolized safety now twists into a nightmarish labyrinth. Every hallway pulses with memories, fragments of his research, marital strife, and the ghostly presence of the past owner, Nicholas Hyde. As Adam moves through the collapsing environment, his narration becomes frantic. He questions everything: the purpose of his investigation, the meaning of the code he's been decrypting, and even his own identity. This descent is the culmination of the game's central theme, that truth, once uncovered, can destroy rather than heal. Once more, the story transitions back to the 19th century. Nicholas Hyde's story reaches its grim end. We discover that his visions, which he thought were supernatural, were actually symptoms of deep-seated trauma and hereditary madness. The mystery of his father's disappearance and the demonic presence haunting the mansion are revealed to be psychological projections, the beast within himself. Nicholas wanders through the blood-soaked halls, his journal entries becoming confessions. He confronts the truth about his lineage, realizing that his family's dark history of murder and secrecy has poisoned him. The scene mirrors Adam's unraveling. Two lives separated by time, but connected by the same curse of obsession and insanity. The two timelines begin to merge. As Nicholas faces the final horror of his family's sins, Adam begins to experience the same visions firsthand, as though he is reliving Nicholas's memories rather than merely uncovering them. The walls of time collapse, torches flicker beside modern light fixtures, 19th century furniture appears in Adam's study, and ghostly voices from both eras echo at once. The merging symbolizes the completion of the cycle. The truth cannot be contained by time. Here the player realizes that Adam's attempt to decrypt government secrets have paralleled Nicholas's search for his family's truth. Both quests, born of curiosity and paranoia, lead to destruction. The climax centers on a pivotal decision: the choice of who is the true beast. The player, as Adam, must decide whether to embrace the persona of Nicholas Hyde or reject him. Each choice leads to a different ending, shaping how the story defines truth and identity. If Adam accepts Nicholas, he becomes the beast, acknowledging that the darkness he's been chasing was inside him all along. The screen fades with the sound of his heavy breathing, blurring the man with the monster. If Adam rejects Nicholas, he attempts to destroy the files and recordings, denying the past, but the mansion and his mind continue to collapse. The truth cannot be erased. In both outcomes, there's no true escape, only the acknowledgement of corruption, guilt, and madness. The last chapter of The Beast Inside delivers a powerful and disorienting conclusion to the dual narrative. By merging timelines and forcing the player to confront moral and psychological choices, it strips away the illusion of control. What began as a historical thriller ends as a meditation on human frailty and madness, a chilling reminder that sometimes the scariest monsters aren't ghosts or conspiracies, but the hidden truths we carry within ourselves.